Yeah, finish it with the deer story because that's probably the most recent hunting experience.
Unless you guys have any other questions, how long has it been? Hour and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're sitting out.
Yeah, you guys are. Yeah, we really
we
appreciate
can
coming
do
on,
we can do deer season and our deer story.
Yeah,
and
we'll do
then
deer
wrap it up.
story. And-
So earlier in the podcast, I was talking about how many hours I had put in a tree stand, and I, up until this year, my 5th year in college, I had still not shot in a deer, and I was to the point of breaking. Like I was just like I'm not gonna deer hunt with my bow ever again. I spent so many hours in a tree. I didn't look at my phone. I was just paranoid about shooting a deer, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm literally done. And I went out this year, and I was like, something might happen, and it
Right. Talk yourself into it.
It might
again.
go through. Anyways, I'm sitting in this tree stand, and start my hunt in the morning, and it's good. I got a south wind, which is perfect for the stand I was gonna sit in, and I'm sitting there, and it was like beautiful morning, like just like how the air just feels totally
Yep.
crisp. It was
Textbook.
It was crisp
textbook
and it was
morning.
textbook, and I was sitting there, and it gets to be about.
Well, before that, when we're going out to sit in the stands, Landon's like, you think I sit on this property? Because we got a lot more stories to tell you guys from hunting different properties to hunting flooded cornfields for ducks to, who you name it, and how we got permission on some private land. It's just crazy. All the stories we have, but that'll be for another time. So Landon's like, gosh, you think I sit in that stand, Landon? I'm like, yeah, Landon, I think that's an evening stand. I know that's an evening stand because every time I go sit there in the evening, there's deer.
But I was gonna hunt there all day. But this piece is like
Full day sit.
It's like 100 acres, but it's like 3 acres of timber. So it's just
Okay,
like
it's
a little
mostly
pinch
field.
point right on the Iowa River.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I go and I went and sat in the stand. And
What time of year is this?
this was
Is it November?
this is October 24th.
Okay.
I sit in the stand in the morning, and so it's starting to pick up. Stuff's starting to pick up, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a beautiful day. Like barely any wind. The south wind was just like barely trickling towards me, and I had this really nice view. And I got in quiet, and I didn't bump anything. And I get up into my stand and sit there and check my phone, check my watch, see what time it is, see what time sunrise is, and shoot half hour before, and it was like 7:00, and I hear beep 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 beep, and I was like, what? And I hear boom, like I hear engine starting. I hadn't been in the stand for like a week or so or whatnot, and I look behind me, and there's like this guy in a Cummins, and I'm like, okay, like whatever. They were like digging a quarry. Anyways, I didn't think anything of it, and the beeping went away a little bit, and then I hear boom boom, and then I hear beep beep beep, and I look back behind me, and this track goes coming down this way towards me.
Excavator,
and he's coming towards me. His big backhoe, and he gets set up in his spot, and he takes a huge shovel full of dirt, puts it in a dump truck, puts another shovel in a dump truck, and I was watching this, puts another shovel in the dump truck,
beep beep beep,
and he honks his horn, he goes beep beep, and then
what's up?
No, and then the dump truck left.
Oh, giving a signal.
Another dump truck came in, and they did that the whole morning.
Wow.
And it is so loud, and I hadn't seen a deer, and I'm just like so frustrated. Like I was.
Oh yeah.
I was so absolutely frustrated, and I was just like, "You're kidding me," And I started thinking about, just how crazy that our society is and our culture is. Like they're digging a quarry to get rock so they can build more stuff.
Yeah.
We have like great highways and whatnot, and they're always need more of it. And I was just like frustrated, and then this is like kind of the last 2 years have been like a transition for me to like really be self-sustainable and not be so wasteful. And I was just like, I was angry and I was frustrated, at society for like being like this.
Yeah.
you know, and he was just they were just digging, you know, that's their job. They're just digging, you know, and I sit in my stand, you know, and not even a half hour later, the field to my south. So I'm sitting in 3 acres of timber, the field to my south, they start combining it.
Really?
It was beans.
It was beans, yeah. And I was just like sitting there and I'm like, you're kidding me. So I'm sandwiched.
Yeah.
I'm on a 3 acre piece and I'm sandwiched with dump trucks behind me. And they're combining beans in front of me. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, this day could not get any better. So I got on LinkedIn.
Uh-huh.
Because I don't have any other apps on my phone.
Yeah.
Like, and I took a picture. Like, there was a really nice sunrise. Like, I took a picture of sunrise. I got on LinkedIn, and I see this article by Bruce Kittle, which is George's dad, and it said it was titled Zeppelin something and a warm cup of coffee. And this article was about, you know, enjoying the small things, you know, and how, you know, when you pull into the driveway and there's a good song on, you don't shut the car off. Like, you listen to the whole song.
Right.
Or, like, you get into the car and it's, like, just a perfect song for that moment in time. It's just, like, this is the attitude that I'm feeling, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Or, like, it's a cold morning, you know, and you have a cup of coffee and it's just, like, warm in your hands, you know? And it was just, like, taking time to really reflect on the small things. And so that kind of gave me, like, as weird as it sounded and as cheesy as it sounds, like, it kind of gave me perspective. Like,
a little bit of perspective.
I'm so frustrated right now. Like, I'm hunting deer, but, like, you know what? Like, there are so many other people who aren't out here right now and who didn't see that sunrise.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And didn't hear the woods, like, come alive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are so many people out there like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just beautiful, you know? And I left for lunch or whatever, and I had a class. I was in one class, so I had to go get my class. And I came back, and, you know, it was just like I got in quiet again, and it was immaculate, like, just like a beautiful, beautiful sunset. Like, the sun was shining down on me really cool. And I still have the picture on my phone, like tells the time and anything. It was like 5:57 or 5:56 or something like that. And I took a picture, and it was just, like, still, like, 5 o'clock. Those guys behind me clocked out. They were done working.
5 in the evening.
Evening.
So you're like 12 hours into this sit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So I left for lunch and came back, and I'm like, those guys left. They clocked out, right?
Right.
And it was just, like, starting to get quiet. And those guys combining left. And it was just, like, peaceful, you know.
Right.
And I had remembered that article that, you know, I read by Bruce Kittle, just like taking time to really enjoy the small things. And, like, it was so quiet, and there was absolutely not one single deer in the whole site, you know. And I had seen a couple deer in the morning, and, you know, like that article that I read was just, you know, enjoy the small things. I saw, like, 2 deer really, 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 really far away, right along the edge of the river, and I'm like, you know, that makes me happy. Like, that made my heart flutter just for a tick. You know, it was just like, I saw something, you know. Or I remember in the morning, I remember watching a raccoon crawl up into its tree.
Yeah.
And just go to sleep there for the day. And I could see his tail the whole day. I could see his tail hanging out of the tree. And I was like, you know, that article that I read by Bruce Kittle, I'm like, this is coming to fruition. Like, this is awesome. Like, this is why I do it.
Right, exactly.
This is why I hunt, and this is why I, you know, try to enjoy the outdoors, is because this is the stuff that, like, you'll never forget.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and that's, like, what I try to soak up the most.
Mind you, he's 23 years old and hasn't harvested a deer with his bow.
Yeah, I haven't harvested a deer with my bow, you know, and it was just like, it's kind of crazy to tell this story now because I didn't even think of it at the time, you know, until I told the story. I usually tell the story of, you know, just the end of my deer hunt. Like, I don't tell anybody the specific details of what happened, like, early in the morning. Like, I don't tell them about the dump trucks, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
I just tell them about where I saw my deer.
But if you've lived it, if you've lived that moment, like, we can connect with that entirely.
Right. And I was just like, you know, so the sun was coming down through the trees, and I took this picture, 5:57, like I told you, and sunset, I can't remember when sunset was. I could look back and tell you.
6:15, I think, maybe.
6:15, so we could hunt till like 6:45 roughly, you know.
Yeah.
And we had good light, you know. I still had good light, and that, it was just unbelievable. And it was just like, there was not a single deer in sight. Like, nothing. It was absolutely quiet. Like, it was, like, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And I had seen, like, 7 or 8 deer in the morning, which was, like, surprising to me. You know, it's something else that I was really grateful for, just to see deer, you know, and have encounters with deer and have encounters with fawns and stuff like that. And anyways, my phone is like at 1% because I'd been hunting all day. You know, if it's a little chilly, like your phone battery dies fast.
Yeah.
So my phone was at 1%. Levi and our buddy are hunting on the east side of the river. I'm on the west side of the Iowa River. They're 3 miles downriver, and our buddy texts us, and he says, somebody is going to kill one tonight. Somebody is going to put one down tonight. I feel it. You know, and they're telling me stories about, like, I said, you seen any? You know, text back and forth. You know, that's, like, a thing that we do. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Nothing. And I'm sitting there, and I text him. I said, my phone is going to die. And I didn't say anything after that. And it's starting to get a little bit dusky. Like, it's starting to hit, you know, sunset, right at about sunset. And I, look back to my right, and I had old glasses at the time, and they're not to my prescription anymore. And I, look over, and I, see a rock, I flip my head pretty fast.
Yeah.
Not very good of me, but I was just I hadn't seen a deer the whole night.
Well,
you know?
you're 23. You haven't killed one in 5 years.
Right, exactly.
Fundamentals are at the window.
Fundamentals are horrible.
Yeah.
So I snap my head over, and I come back, and then I did a double take. I hadn't seen that big ass rock before. And I look back, and I'm I was squinting. I'm I haven't seen that rock before. Why haven't I seen that? I've tried to you know, and then you start thinking oh, your eyes always play tricks on you, you know, this and that. That's not what you think it is. And then I see this little sapling going like this, just bouncing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck? And then I see antlers,
Yeah.
you know, and I see antlers. And this guy was on a rub line, and he rubs this sapling, and it happened so fast. He's probably 100 or 120 yards away. He steps out, and he starts walking right to me. But anyways, I didn't tell you the most important part of the story. I get into my stand, and I was so frustrated. You know, in the morning, I'm like, oh, new life, whatever. And, you know, those people were shut up. But now the wind's at my back. It's a north
not
wind.
ideal.
It's a north wind now, so
Yeah.
anything downwind of me is going to get my wind.
Yeah.
Right.
So anything I would have to shoot would be from behind me, you know, and that's where I'm going to get the best case scenario shot. And it's probably 20 yards from me to the end of the fence line where these guys are digging the quarry. I'm like, well, that's a pretty small window. That's not going to happen. But anyways, this deer steps out, and I look at his antlers. I'm like, at this point, I hadn't shot a deer for 9 years.
Goodness gracious.
I swear, eight or nine years exactly, and I had put in a lot of hours.
Yeah.
And it was just you know, I don't regret those hours. I don't think anybody regrets hunting.
No.
You know what I mean? I don't think anybody regrets putting time, you know, in this crazy awesome place. You know.
Yeah.
And I didn't regret it. And I look at his antlers, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna shoot that deer. And I had in my mind I was gonna pretty much shoot anything that was, you know, a yearling, you know, and not a fawn.
Yeah.
You know, I was gonna shoot anything just to put some meat in the freezer so we didn't have to buy beef.
Right.
You know what I mean? And anyways, this deer steps out. He gets done rubbing that sapling, and he comes pretty freaking fast. He was right behind me.
Oh, yeah.
And he's coming down this fence line on this rub line. You know, and pretty fast, and I'm looking at him I didn't look at his antlers, you know, until
that's always a good idea.
The first
you're gonna mess it up.
and I wasn't nervous, you know.
Yeah.
I was I had practiced this for, you know, I just
I have 10 years of me thinking about
I had
this
10 years
moment.
of thinking about. I wasn't even nervous, you know.
Yeah.
And he comes walking behind me, and I'm a lefty, and the only way that, you know, I was gonna be able to draw around the tree is on the left. So I draw my bow when he was behind this tree over here. And I see him walking down below me, and it's 10 yards. It's easy shot, you know. and I swing my bow down like this, and he goes like this.
Looks at it.
Looks up at me, and I let the arrow fly, you know, and I shot him. And it was a big deer.
It was.
You know, big for a
Yeah.
first time bow kill. Big. I mean, big for me personally. Like big for like Levi. Like big for my dad. Like
Yeah.
it was a nice deer. You know,